All right, Mark Rogers TV, week 7 of our college football predictions. We are 97-17 straight up. Just a game over 500 against the spread. Not good enough. 60% is the goal, and it's been achieved by us in the past. But those confidence picks, we continue to hit them consistently. 10-3 in our confidence picks against the spread. 31-12 the past 2 seasons against the spread. Please listen up for those confidence picks. We've got 3 more in week 7. We start with the number 1 team in the land, Alabama, consensus number 1, best team in the country, at Missouri to give their welcome to the SEC to the Mizzou Tigers. Bama, a 21-point favorite. They cover on the road despite Nick Saban tending to be conservative in games against lesser foes. They do cover the 21 here on the road. We've got Florida and Vandy. Of course, the Gators came up with a huge win, the biggest of the Will Muschamp era in Gainesville against LSU, 14-6 last week. In Florida looked great, running the football, stopping the run. Jeff Driscoll looked really good. They're on the road against Vandy. Could they have a letdown? Yes, they could, but they could still cover the 8.5 against the Vandy team that's taken a step back this season. We've got K-State and Iowa State. We put the Wildcats on some upset alert here because Iowa State's pretty good at 4-1. They took advantage of the TCU quarterback situation on the road last week and winning against the Horned Frogs in Fort Worth. They are 4-1. Paul Rhodes, a very good head coach at Iowa State. They're at home. We know what they did against Oklahoma State last season in this situation. But K-State goes on the road. They cover the 6.5 points. They are on a roll, and they've got a very veteran and mature football team that's going to look for the downfall here against Iowa State and get past it and work through it in preparation for West Virginia. Ohio State, Indiana. Just call this one a hunch because the Buckeyes are playing really well, but they've weathered the challenge of Nebraska and Michigan State the last 2 weeks. Now they go on the road for just the second time this season. Take Indiana plus the 17.5. Buckeyes win it straight up. Then we've got USC and Washington. Washington, one of those teams that seems to be a completely different football team at home. They played very well against the Cardinal a week and a half ago at home on a Thursday night. Washington plays it close against USC. The Trojans, the classic underachievers this season, do get the win, but take Washington plus the 13 at home. Texas, Oklahoma in the Red River rivalry. If you listen to our preseason preview of the Big 12, you know that despite Oklahoma being the preseason favorite, we felt that they were too soft and Landry Jones overrated and that they would not win the conference. We picked Texas, who of course stumbled last week against West Virginia at home, 48-45. We like the Texas defense to finally show up. There's just too much talent on that Texas defense not to show up, to put pressure on Landry Jones in this game. So we like Texas to win, so take the Longhorns plus the 3 in Dallas. Mississippi State, Tennessee. Tyler Bray keeps Tennessee close. They are 10th in the nation in pass offense, but Tennessee overmatched in most areas other than the passing attack of the Vols. So we like Mississippi State at home, and we like the Bulldogs to cover 3 points against Tennessee. Boise and Fresno State. This used to be a great matchup in the Pat Hill era, back with Fresno before Boise became a national powerhouse. The Broncos, of course, have taken a step back, but they are ranked in the top 25. The defense is playing very well. Fresno's improved at 4-2. Boise not scoring much, but they are at home and only a 7-point favorite, so we like the Broncos to cover the 7 against Fresno State. South Carolina, LSU. This has to be the game of the week. Of course, LSU went to Florida last weekend and came up a loser 14-6. They've had all sorts of problems on offense. Zach Mettenberger not making the plays on offense, and the pass rush has gotten to the LSU quarterback, and they're going to see a great pass rush and what we believe to be the second best defense in the country in South Carolina. Future NFL players all over the field for both teams, but specifically for the South Carolina defense. If you heard our preview of LSU and South Carolina here on Mark Rogers TV, you know that this was a difficult one for us to predict because LSU does have Death Valley on its side and still an exceptional defense with Kevin Minter and company. But we like South Carolina. They got the mojo working. LSU trying to figure things out on offense, and they really don't have dynamic players on offense. And, of course, problems protecting the passer and Mettenberger not making the throws. South Carolina wins So they also cover the 3 points at Baton Rouge. Now we've got a confidence pick for you. We've got West Virginia going to Texas Tech. And of course, Geno Smith is the Heisman favorite, 24 touchdown passes thus far this season. West Virginia has racked up big wins against Texas and Baylor. They go to Tech. Tech played its first really difficult opponent and got trounced by Oklahoma last week by 21. West Virginia just a 3.5-point favorite. Yeah, they got the big game against K-State sandwiched in here, coming off the win against Texas. So maybe a letdown, but we like the Mountaineers going to Lubbock and winning this game by more than 3.5 points. So again, a confidence pick. Take West Virginia, lay the 3.5 points. We've got Notre Dame and Stanford, and Notre Dame is a much different football team this season with a great front seven on defense. The Notre Dame recruiting has just taken off in the last few years, and we see it in speed and athleticism, especially, again, on defense. They have 5 draftable players out of their front 7. Notre Dame has only had 6 linebackers and defensive linemen taken in the NFL draft in the last decade. Stanford coming off a very tough 54-48 overtime win against Arizona, goes to Notre Dame, puts up a fight, but we like the Irish to gut out a win over Stanford. So take Stanford plus the 7. Irish win the football game. We've got Oregon State and BYU. Very interesting situation here where quarterback Sean Mannion of Oregon State did not appear to be injured during the game. Completed the victory for Oregon State, now 4-0, but Mannion is indefinitely out, and he's out with a left knee injury in this game against BYU. The Cougars are 8th in the country in points against. They are just giving up 8.8 points per game. They're a 5.5-point underdog. So we like BYU at home to keep it close. If you look at the Oregon State wins, they won by 3, 7, 3, and 13 against Washington State. So take Oregon State to win. Washington State, or rather BYU, with a 5.5 points in a confidence play. So BYU plus the 5.5 at home. Florida State, Boston College, of course, the Noles looked to go to a national championship game, and then they ran into NC State on the road. Look for the Noles to take it out on poor Boston College, a 1-4 football team. Take Florida State minus the 17 against BC. Louisville Pitt. Louisville continues to win very close games. They're 5-0. Pitt's 2-3, but at home, and we saw what they did against Virginia Tech. The Cardinals a 3-point favorite, and I like them to cover against the Pitt football team at home. We've got Rutgers and Syracuse. The spread here is 7.5 for Rutgers in the top 25 at 5-0. Rutgers winning close football games. Syracuse losing close football games. The Cuse at 1-4, so we like Syracuse plus the 7.5 on the road against the Scarlet Knights. All right, we've got Texas A&M and Louisiana Tech. These two teams are scheduled to play the first week of the season. The Hurricane wiped it out, so now we've got a pair of top 25 teams, surprisingly, for Louisiana Tech. A&M's ripped off 4 consecutive wins after the opening loss to Florida. And so we've got number 22 and number 23. This is going to be a shootout. 2 of the top 5 offenses in the country. Statistically, Louisiana Tech has big wins over Virginia and Illinois. Those look good on paper. Of course, the Cavs and the Illini are way down this year. Still, we like a close football game, especially with La Tech at home. Take Louisiana Tech plus the 7.5 with A&M winning the football game. And finally, in the Big Ten, Michigan, Illinois, the Illini, horrible, fired Ron Zook last year, and they've gone into the tank, getting ripped by just about everybody. 28-point loser to Penn State 2 weeks ago, lost by 17 to Wisconsin, and those came after a big loss against Louisiana Tech by 28, so I'm going against the grain here. Michigan plays arch-rival, not arch-rival, of course, that's the Ohio State Buckeyes, rival Michigan State in 2 weeks. So we like Michigan to win the game, no doubt, at home against Illinois. But with Nathan Shieldhouse at quarterback, making some plays for Illinois. And Illinois, remember, this team has got some talent. Ron Zook recruited well, so they've got some players somewhere. We expect them to put together a game this week at Michigan. Of course, Michigan does win it, but take Illinois and that big 25-point spread in the Big House. There you have it. Our picks in the top 25. Of course, the confidence picks against, again, Illinois plus the 25, BYU plus 5.5, and also we like West Virginia laying 3.5 at Texas Tech. Those are our picks. Would love to hear from you, your comments on this week's big games on Mark Rogers TV.